Welcome to that loving voice. Welcome to that loving voice. Welcome back. As you know, my name is Tegan. I'm the founder of TLV, That Loving Voice. And today is the day we're going to look at starting to prepare for Chaturanga. So as you know, I'll just do a little quick demo. This is your Chaturanga. It's the process of going from your plank, this is Chaturanga, into your upward dog, into your downward dog. It is a very complicated and challenging posture because, well, for many reasons. And this is why it's very important to break it down. So we're going to start with two very simple postures. Today we're going to look at the plank, and in our next video we're going to look at the cobra. So with that, I encourage you to go to my website, www.thatlovingvoice.com, which is where you can find the full library curriculum exploring this posture, Chaturanga. We're going to look at this extensively with a number of exercises that will prepare you physically to be able to handle it, moving forward, as well as looking at a number of key just sort of actions of the body, like the extension of the arms and the rotation of the bones and whatnot, to prepare you to move forward. However, today we're just going to look at plank. Tomorrow we're going to look at our cobra, and then we're going to move on. So I encourage you to go to thatlovingvoice.com to purchase the library curriculum, where you can find the program at large, as well as that full program leading up to it, which will also prepare you especially for this. This is sort of the pinnacle thus far of our work. And in that library curriculum, what it looks like is about 7 videos each section that will fully break these things down to prepare you with a healthy mind, body, and spirit practice. So with that, let's get started. Today for our class, you're going to need a block or a book or something like usual. So those of you who are at home, for example, now this is, a book. It's about the same size as my block, actually. It's almost exactly the same size. So today I could use a book like this for my hand-elbow alignment support. Or, as you know, I have like those little foamy things here. You can find tons of stuff just around the house that you can work. You can even cut this to size. It's a little large. But nonetheless, we're going to need a block. We're going to need your blanket, 2 of them if you can, so you can really make yourself comfortable in Shavasana at the end. Your sweater, a pair of socks. You could even get an eye cover for the eyes. And what was the other thing? Oh yes, your belt or your strap, because we are going to be looking at that with the shoulder alignment. We're going to continue. You see how we're sowing the seeds of a healthy practice in mind, body, and spirit. So when you're ready, we can get to it. I invite you to come down on your back. And of course, we'll just start with our gentle meditation, so you can let the feet just relax under the knees. Now, again, you can just sort of walk those shoulder blades towards one another to realign the body here. Let the spine be neutral. So the pelvis now, in this case, is broad along the floor. And the knees here are just naturally bent, and therefore the pelvis can be very neutral. So if you look at my pelvis, I'm not like this. My tail is not tucked up, nor am I super, super arched. If possible, now listen to your body because we all have our own little quirks. But if you can, really allow the flat of the pelvis to be neutral on the ground. So I'll show you what that looks like. If this here is my sacrum bone, this broad part is on the ground, anchored, so I'm not too in either direction, okay? Once you are there, you can let the arms relax down by your side. You can close the eyes and allow for the face to be soft. You can let the lips part. The tongue relaxes down the back of the throat. And we catch the breath. Thank you for subscribing to this channel. Thank you for sharing this practice with a friend. And do know that I encourage you to consult your doctor prior to practicing. Always listen to your body and limitations during this practice. Never push yourself beyond your limits. Hold yourself very dear. TLV cannot be responsible for any injury that occurs. So please take your limitations very seriously. And finally, thank you for your donations and your support. Now, in the past, we've been looking at the 4 parts of the breath. And I hope you've been carrying that into your day, exploring that, just that reality. But today I want to encourage you to really focus on the natural breath. And while we do that, to really let go of changing or manipulating the breath. Because while we do have 4 parts of the breath that occur naturally, you may have noticed that in order to really lean into those 4 parts of the breath, we have a tendency to change the breath, to make that happen, to make those 4 parts a reality. And this is not wrong, it's not incorrect, not at all. However, in my teacher training, I was encouraged not to change or manipulate the breath for at least 1 year before I attempted to engage in any type of breathing practices that were actively changing the breath. And so now we're taking our breath practice into the next level of maturity. And in this space, I truly encourage you to let the breath breathe you. It will take time. Try not to manipulate the breath, but watch the breath as a silent observer. Just watch it breathe, almost like it has its own personality, as if it has its own spirit. Now, the spirit produces fruit, but we have a choice in which path we want that fruit to grow and bear. There is a spirit of peace, of love, of faithfulness, of goodness, kindness, joy, and self-control. Let us choose the path of peace, starting first with this breath. Peace be with this breath. Observe the breath. From start to finish. Where in your body do you feel the breath most prominently? Perhaps it is in the nose, the nostrils. Maybe you feel the breath most in the belly. Or maybe you feel the breath most in the chest. Wherever you feel this breath, observe. Observe the change in shape of the body. For example, in the nostrils, we feel the air is cooler on the inhale. We feel the air warmer on the exhale. We feel that pulling sensation in and out. And for the belly lifts on the inhalation as the belly swells. The lungs fill with air, the belly is pushed up. And on the exhale, the belly softens down. the breath becomes much easier to observe. It becomes easier to let the breath breathe. When we focus on the sensations of the breath, it's a little trick. Become utterly fascinated with the sensations of the body as the breath breathes. And from this place, you may begin to notice the natural pauses occurring. And that's the fun part. Leaning into those pauses, trusting the inhale from start to finish, and trusting the exhale from start to finish. Noticing every sensation during that time. As we begin then to notice that these four parts of the breath are actually one breath. There is no start, there is no pause, there is no finish when we notice the breath continually from beginning to end and back again. There is no break in consciousness. There's no break in our attentiveness, but rather a full and awakened awareness of each part of the breath in its fullness as it bleeds into the next. There is never an end. The only beginning is birth. The only end is death. Until then, we continue to flow in this endless cycle of letting the breath breathe us. If you'd like to apply a mantra for today, my offering is one word: peace. I encourage you to find one moment that suits you best where you can say that to yourself within the cycle, the rhythm of the breath. We'll take about 3 more breaths. And when you're ready, you can begin to wiggle the fingers, wiggle the toes, and you can exhale and roll to the side. Now you can let the head be heavy, you can roll yourself up, and we're going to come onto all fours. We're going to start with a cat-cow. So draw those fingers, the index fingers straight ahead, pointing like parallel lines. The knees are under the hips. We exhale to round. We inhale to lift the sitting bones, shoulders glide down the back and towards one another slightly. Exhale, lifting the belly button. Inhaling. Now remember to press into those fingers as we lift the sitting bones. The arms are strong, elbows are soft, however. I encourage you to find your own breath. And to apply this mantra, peace. And now we'll come back to neutral. Now, this is gonna maybe be strange for you, but it's so important because we're doing work today on the hands and wrists. So I want you to take your fingers on the ground and press the fingers down, starting from the index finger and then rocking through the middle finger, the ring finger, and the pinky finger. So we're stretching through the tarsals of the hand. Okay? You're gonna feel the entire palm start to awaken. And now press all the fingers down with a firm, open palm. Press the fingers down, but sort of lift the arch of the palm as if it was like an octopus sucker. Soften the elbow. Come to your alignment. Now, this is the pressure you need in your hand when you're doing all your work on the hands in your yoga practice. Because if you have a weak little wrist, you're putting so much pressure on your wrist. You're going to develop carpal tunnel or aggravate an injury you already have. Now, if you do have carpal tunnel, I don't encourage you to do these practices on the wrist. It's probably going to cause you more harm than good. Now let's switch hands, moving to the right. And by the way, in the online curriculum, these details will be filmed more in a close-up type setting, because I know it's difficult right now to see. So just rock through the pinky finger, the ring, the middle finger, the index, stretching through those long bones in the hands. And then press all the fingers down. Make sure the index fingers are parallel, pointing straight ahead. And then soften here through the elbows. Press each of the fingers firmly down into the ground, but lift open through the palms, almost as if you have little suckers. See, my hands are strong and firm here. Weak little hands, strong hands, and then I lift through the suckers. Okay, so now we're going to engage our cat-cow with this same posture of the hands. Don't be surprised if you have actually sore forearms tomorrow. Exhales around, don't forget the hands. Inhale, lift. Exhales around. Inhale. Don't forget about the hands. Just like the breath, how easy is it to forget, to get distracted? Now we're going to come back to neutral, staying here on the wrist. We're lengthening the right leg long. Now, if you can, float that heel up without arching the back, okay? Zip through the core and lift as if you were balancing a glass of water on the sacrum bone. Now, we looked at this in our first series on grounding the femur bones. So we're coming back. Don't forget about your hands. Keep those fingers engaged. Those palms are wide. That little sucker on the inner palms is lifting up. Exhale, switch. Other leg grows long now. We can lift. Now, some of you might be more comfortable down here. That's okay, you can stay there. But if you can, I encourage you to start lifting up because we're expanding our borders now in the body. But remember, we don't want to do this at the cost of our integrity, you know? Stay engaged. Lift through the belly button, lift through the core. My sacrum bone is broad, the tailbone is heavy, and I'm not forgetting about the hands. Exhale, releasing down. So now we have a choice. You can do the same one again, or you can lengthen, lift, and now lift through the opposite arm. Turn the palm up. This is part of that external rotation in the arm bone that we're going to look at in our downward facing dog. Continue to press through each of the fingers so as to take the weight off of the wrist. Do you understand? Press into the fingers to make it easier on the wrist. Exhale, release, switching sides. Left leg grows long, lift through the belly button, tailbone is heavy. I can lift through my foot. Now look at your toes, are they pointing straight down? Because they should be. Broad through the back of the shoulders, I can lift open my arm if I'm comfortable. Now I'm not collapsing in the shoulder, I stay open and broad. Turn that palm up and press each of those fingers down, lifting through the arch of the palm so as to take that pressure off of the wrist and place it into the broad spectrum of the hand. Now, I hope you carry this with you in all of your daily activities. You'll be shocked by how this alone will just awaken your understanding of how to move more fully throughout the world. Exhale, now release. Tuck the toes. Exhale, the sitting bones come back. Now, again, we're going to apply that external rotation here in the arms. So if you want to turn the palms slightly out, I encourage you to do that. So now my index finger is pointing towards the corner of my mat. And I turn the tricep bones in towards my temple. The biceps turn out towards the side of the wall. This is the external rotation of the upper arm. Now, challenge. You can stay here, or we're going to rock and roll one vertebrae at a time. So starting from the pelvis, I lift up through the belly button. Don't forget the strength of the hands as I draw the hips forward into an upward dog. Exhale back. Don't forget the strength of the hands. Now doing this again, rocking up one vertebrae at a time. Continue to press those fingers down. Engage soft elbows. Now not hyperextended. Exhale back. Continue to press each of those fingers down, the joints, the fingertips, and lift up through the arches of the palm. Now exhaling, again, last time. Don't forget the hands. Now exhale to a full plank, lift up through the belly button. So I'm not sinking, nor am I like this. This is totally cheating, guys. Drop the hips down, zip through the core, and exhale back, downward facing dog. We'll take one full breath here. And we exhale, stepping or jumping forward. Release the hands. Inhale, lift. You should be really feeling that. Exhale, release. Inhale to rise. Exhale, hands come down. Now, we've looked at this briefly in the past. The feet typically are parallel. But I'm going to encourage you to find an internal rotation of the feet. So you see my feet are actually almost pigeon-toeing in here a little bit. Good. Let the thigh bones press back. Now again, we looked at this in our first series. We're going to continue applying these teachings as I inhale, lift, folding at the waist, the heart reaches forward. Now scoop the shoulder blades towards one another as we've known how to do. Exhale, releasing down. Inhale to our flat back. Now hands come down, index fingers pointing straight ahead. Remember, you can be as bent as you need here in the knees. We're going to exhale to a full plank. We're going to stay here 3 breaths. Now turn those elbows back so the biceps again are opening out to the side and the triceps are coming in. So we're having a gentle external rotation of the arms here. Now we're going to exhale, come onto the knees. Now, you can take a little break. We're going to start engaging here through our push-up pose, okay? So lengthen the knees back and bring and float the chest on top of the hands. Lift through the core. Soften the elbows back. That's as far as we're going to go for now. Push up, don't forget a full extension. Soften the elbows back. Full extension. Last time. Downward dog. Peace. Peace, peace. Look to the hands, step or jump forward. Inhale, lifting the chin, flat back. Exhale, releasing down. Inhale, heart rises. Exhale, hands come down. Inhale to lift. Exhale to a chair pose. So here my thigh bones are parallel. My feet are parallel. And I'm bringing my weight back as much as I can onto my heels so I'm not like crushing forward with the knees. We zip through the core now. As I've said before, we can find a little bit of a back bend or a neutral spine here, whatever you prefer today. Actually, on that note, why don't we try this with a tailbone slightly more heavy and more of a zip through the core. Now, I don't want you to be like this. This is like a puppy dog with his tail between his legs, but more of a neutral spine today. You'll see why. Now we inhale, lift, exhale, swan dive. Inhale, flat back. Exhale, hands come down. Now spread those fingers, engage the index fingers straight ahead. Take a step or a jump back to our plank pose. We're going to stay here, 3 breaths. Rock those elbows towards, soft through the elbows, but find that external rotation here in the arms. Exhale to the knees, even if you're strong, come to the knees. Now, first things first, notice my belly. I lift and engage, let the tailbone be heavy as I find my plank pose. Now I'm going to soften the elbows back, press the fingers down so I'm not on my wrists, lift up, exhale. Now, we're going to go into this in more detail, but if you look, I have an internal rotation of my arms. If my elbows are splaying out, it's so easy for me to hang in my joint. You see that? I have a tendency to do that. So I need to be careful, find that external rotation in the arms, and let my hands to the buttocks be a nice straight line. Now look to the hands, step or jump forward. Inhale, lifting the chin flat back. Exhale, releasing down. Inhale to rise. Exhale. Hands come down to center. Now, we've been doing this the past few days, so you're welcome to open here through the chest, squeeze the shoulder blades together, and just exhale, drop forward. You know this one, so do it the way you need. Just a brief moment here to stretch through the chest. Now we can switch the cross of the hands if you have your hands crossed. Exhale, coming back, lift through the core so I'm not dumping. Open through the chest. Exhale, release. Inhale, lift, finding a chair. Now, notice the feet can do the same thing as the hands. You can spread the toes and lift the arches of the feet to further engage through the body at large. Every cell of the body is awakened in your yoga practice. Not one part of the body should be asleep. Not one part of the body or the joints or the bones should be sagging or lagging, but we should be engaged as a body, as a unit. Inhale, lift. Find that internal rotation of the thighs as I exhale, swan diving. Releasing down. Inhaling, flat back. Now, hands come down. We're going to take a step or a jump to our plank pose. We're going to come now onto the elbows. Okay? So, let's grab our block. I want you to start by placing the block between the hands. Okay? So now I want you to just observe the alignments of the elbows. So notice right away, are my elbows out to the side? We're going to use our strap here in a moment, but for now, I just want to challenge you to draw the elbows into alignment with the wrists under the shoulders. In the meantime, we're going to look at the core. Okay, so first things first, I'm not sagging in the shoulders, but I'm broad. The next thing, I drop my tailbone down, but I lift through the belly button. So I'm folding the base of the ribs towards the pubic bone. We'll stay here for maybe 3 breaths. Now I'm going to exhale. If you want, you can take a child's pose, or if you want, you can find a downward dog. If you're in a child's pose, I encourage you to attempt to turn the palms up. This is that external rotation. When you're ready, we're going to come back now this time. Now take advantage of this short little break. We're going to take hold of our strap or your belt or your skipping rope, and we're going to bring it now just onto the humerus bone here, looping it just above the elbow. Now, how am I doing there? I'm doing okay. But for me, honestly, I would need a little bit tighter for the strap to be effective on me. That's better, because here now it pulls my elbows into alignment and I can press out into it, and it forces me to engage in the shoulder blades. So this is what we want. Okay, so now we're ready to come back down. Now here, this is quite a challenge. So wherever you are, I encourage you to walk the knees back, drop the shoulders on top of the elbows, and let here the tailbone be heavy as you lift the pubic bone towards the rib cage. The rib cage knits towards the pubis. Lift up through the belly button as if you had a big beach ball under the belly and you were trying to really lift the core away from that ball. Now we're going to exhale and come to our child's pose. If you want, stay here, turn the palms up, relax. Now remember, you know how to do your child's pose with your many variations, so go for it. Now we're going to exhale and come back. Anchor those elbows down, palms here. Now, some of you might have your hands on your blocks and you're like, a weakling. Engage. You can even press through to the palms as you engage life through each cell of your body. Okay, so now, if you feel, by the way, you have shoulder tension, you can always sort of ease up on your strap. And you could even bring the palms down. So you can try that as a variation. See how you feel. Now let the knees soften away. Tailbone is heavy. Lift through the core, lift through the belly button like there's a beach ball. Knit the base of the ribs towards the pubic bone and engage now from each cell of the hands through to the elbows, through to the shoulders. And notice I'm pressing my heart open and back. My chin comes towards the throat, so I'm not collapsing in the shoulders here. Now, challenge, you can stay right here, or you can lift into your full plank. If you're here in your full plank, flex the quads to support the weight of the lower half of the body. Let the tailbone continue to be heavy, broaden through the back of the heart, and knit that rib cage towards the pubic bone. Press through the forearms, continue to lengthen through the hands. One more full breath. Exhale. You can find that child's pose, or you can find a downward dog. If you choose your downward dog, just release through the strap, release through the block, and lengthen. Now, if you're in a child's pose, I encourage you to come back up to your down dog. Press into the fingers so as not to press into the wrists. Now we're going to inhale, lift this right leg up. So now we're lengthening from the heel out the crown of the head. It doesn't need to be perfect, but keep those toes of the right foot pointing down and try to keep the hips square so I'm not lifting, okay? Now I'm going to exhale and swing that knee towards my nose, and then I press my foot down. I'm going to stay up on this back heel. I float my knee over top of my ankle, and I lengthen and reach the arms either overhead or down to the hips, okay? So you'll notice now I have a straight line from my heel to my crown. I lift through the core, and I engage here in this lunge type plank. I can draw my shoulder blades together, chin towards the throat. Now press equally through the sole of the foot, spread all the toes. And I find my mantra. Now I exhale, hands come down, index fingers pointing straight ahead. I find my plank pose. Now I can stay here in my plank as I soften the elbows down about halfway. I inhale, lift. If I want, I can find a little cobra. I exhale, downward dog. Remember, the index fingers are pointing straight and parallel or slightly turned out to the side. Now, please don't make that hardcore, like you don't want your middle finger pointing to the side. I'd say middle finger pointing to the corners of your mat or the index finger to the corners of your mat. That's a healthy balance. Now we exhale, lifting that left heel. Toes are pointing straight down. My hips are square. I find my mantra. Exhale, rolling forward. I bring that knee to the nose. And the foot comes down. I stay up on that back heel. I can choose to lengthen the arms overhead, or I can bring them down to my hip. Now again, I draw the shoulders together, chin towards the throat. I flex this back quadricep, engage and lift through the core as if I was in a plank. Finding that mantra. And actually breathing through the nose helps you to engage the breath as more of a full body practice. It's very interesting. We exhale, the hands come down. Remember the index fingers point straight ahead. I find my full plank. I'm going to hold it here now for a few breaths. Soften the elbows down so I'm not hyperextended. Broad through the back of the heart, lifting through the belly button as if there was a big beach ball. Tailbone is heavy and I knit the rib cage towards the pubic bone. From here, I can choose if I want to drop the knees. I float my chest over the hands. I'm going to come down halfway. Inhale, exhale back. Now I'm going to inhale, floating forward. This is our climax, my friends. Press those fingers all the way to the floor. Open through the arches of the palms, lifting those little suckers. Tailbone is heavy. Belly button is light and lifted, knitting the rib cage towards the pubic bone. Chin stays towards the throat. Now you can choose to come down to the knees or not. We're going to exhale. Float the heart over and between the hands. Squeeze the shoulder blades together as you draw down. We're going to come all the way down. Now come down onto the belly. Hands come under the elbows. Squeeze the shoulder blades together, chin towards the throat, and bring the big toes together as if I was squeezing a block or something. Press those toes down. Continue opening through the chest as I roll the shoulder blades back. Now, are your hands engaged? Continue to press them even here. Expand the fingers. Lift those arches. Are my elbows splayed out? Continue to engage. If you want, we can press in, lifting all the way up. And we exhale. Downward dog. Now we can start to take more of a cooling breath. Exhaling slow and long. And now we're going to come onto the knees. We'll take a more restorative child's pose. So if you want, you can grab your blanket. Just find that little knot. Now you lift the rib cage up and over and round the back here. I'm going to clasp my hands behind the back now as I start to round. Don't forget your mantra. And now one vertebrae at a time, we can roll up. Now we're going to remove our block. We're going to come onto the knees. And we're going to finish with a little back bend that we started to explore in our last series, but that we did not look at fully, which we will look at in more detail during our library curriculum. We'll bring the hands here onto the buttocks. We squeeze those elbows in. And you'll notice as I did that, I also engaged through the core. Okay? So if you want, you can start to walk the hands maybe down a little bit. Here now, the hips stay on top of the knees as I actually find a back bend in the upper chest. Continue to zip through that core. Now we've done tons of work here on the abs today. So let the tailbone be heavy and draw the abdomen in as you let the heart open. Now this is probably enough for me today, to be quite honest with you, because I don't want to start dumping in my lower back. This is actually, in my opinion, a back bend more tailored toward extension of the thoracic spine. Because if you start dumping in the lower back, you're kind of losing the back bend of the upper body. So anchor down through the knees. You can press the hips slightly forward. Continue to draw the belly button in. Chin stays towards the throat. And we can exhale. Release. And now we're going to come straight onto our back. This is going to feel so good. Now, options. We even have like props, so it's awesome. You can use your blanket here as a support between the thighs. We're going to come into a twist, so you have options. You can even use a block like under the knees as you twist. Or if you have a more flexible body, now please don't do this if you don't have a very flexible body. It's just not worth it. But if you do, you can cross the right leg over the left, the left leg over the right leg, move to the right, okay? So left on top of right, you fall to the right side. So if you're flexible enough to do this with a cross, then go for it. But if not, I want you just to place either a block here to the side, and you can let the knees just fall to the side. You can even place a blanket between the thighs. As you just relax to the side, let the chest fall open. Okay? So tons of variations there. As you just let the body start to soften down. And engage with that mantra, peace. Now we can exhale, coming back to center with care, and do the same variation on the other side. Whatever that was, just do the same thing. But in the other direction. And we let the chest fall open. As the heart points towards the sky, we let the hips stack on top of each other. And when you're ready, we can gently exhale, coming back to center. And we're going to close with a wonderful happy baby. So I encourage you just to lift the feet, lift the knees. Now you can soften the kneecaps towards the armpits. And from here, open the soles of the feet to the sky. So if you can just hold the legs here. You can hold the outsides of the feet or the big toes. But if you cannot reach them, then don't try. Just soften down here. That's healthy. As you exhale, to let the thigh bones begin to soften towards the belly. Find that mantra. Now we can exhale, release, and finally we will finish with a little hip stretch here. We'll thread the needle. So we cross that right ankle over the left thigh. And we can even use that right elbow to further open through that right hip by pressing it away. Now keep both of your feet flexed. I exhale, release, and switch sides. Don't forget your mantra. And we exhale and release. Now, if there's any final posture that you wish to do, you're okay to do that. I encourage you. But if you're ready for Shavasana, then just let the legs be long, let the arms open out to the side, and of course, I encourage you to take hold of your sweater, your socks, and your blanket. You can just place this blanket under the head, put your socks on your feet. And if you have even a face cloth or something that you can lay over the eyes, almost like an eye mask, cherry, that'll just be so wonderful. You can cover your body with a blanket too, and even turn off your lights as you start to find stillness and warmth and darkness. And as you get comfortable, I encourage you just to allow the bones to be heavy. Let the muscles begin to fall away from the bone. And begin to soften again here through the eyes, through the tongue. Let the jaw come unhinged. As you find that breath, and observe again this never-ending cycle. Every breath its own beginning and end that never ends.
Noticing this breath as the breath breathes you. Indulging in that sensation, the sensation of being alive. You can begin to wiggle the fingers, wiggle the toes. And rocking the thighs, you can bend one knee at a time and gently roll to the side. Using the arm as a pillow, I invite you to take a moment here to give thanks for one thing you are grateful for. When you're ready, you can let the head be heavy and use the strength of the arms to roll up one vertebrae at a time. Letting the spine stack. Let the chest be open. Now we can bring the hands to the heart.
Peace be with you. Thank you so much, everyone, for participating. I truly hope this practice is a blessing to you. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for sharing. And I encourage you also to check out some of my other videos. For example, I have a meditation series that's available. It's called Beginner Meditation for Spiritual Seekers. I also have a more advanced meditation called Awakenings, and some more fun videos along the way. Stay tuned, and I'll see you again 2 days from now. Thank you.